Hello, welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, a real estate investor showing you how you can own a home or invest in one. In today's show, I'm going to be talking about travel. Since now is the time when most people go on vacation, I figured I would give you guys a few tips. Number one, what you may not realize is that you can actually get deals while you are going on vacation or pointers in real estate. All you have to do is talk to the person sitting next to you on the airplane or the cruise or wherever you happen to go and let them know what your interests are and what you do. 9 times out of 10, you will find somebody who is willing to sell their home or give you some information or share some information that they picked up or learned. You may be able to consult someone. By doing this, did you know that that is tax deductible? Yes. Also, at this time, there are a lot of real estate conferences that you might want to attend. Those are also tax deductible. Both the flight or the car, the gas, the actual cost of the conference, the transportation from the airport to the conference or to the hotel that you're going to be staying at, and the hotel itself. Or if you have a vacation home or a second home in that vicinity or that you're visiting, all of that is actually tax deductible. So even though it's tax deductible, it still can cost you a bit of money because the taxes that you deduct from traveling does not cancel the entire cost of actually going there. So let's talk about some money saving tips. The first thing that I normally do is I like to book early. Last minute deals for me, for whatever reason, they just never work out. They never seem to be as cheap as when I book early, like 2 months or so ahead of time. I also found that when you book during the new year, that's when there's a whole bunch of sales going on. And that is when prices drop drastically. Please note, some sites also have price match. So if, for example, let's say you book a vacation on New Year's Eve, and then by New Year's Day, the price drops. Some sites, all you have to do is call them back and say, I noticed that the price dropped. Can you please match it? And it doesn't even have to drop on that particular site. It can drop on another travel site as long as you call them and you let them know, hey, I saw it on this site for much less. Some sites have a price match where they'll automatically drop it, but they won't drop it unless you actually call them on the phone. Next, when you're booking, I like to go during off season or shoulder season. First of all, you can find conferences during those times, number one. And number two, it's less crowded during those times. So that's another reason why. And of course, yes, it's also a lot less inexpensive during that particular time, the off season and the shoulder season. The next thing that I do is this, and you may want to also make sure you use credit cards that give you points or miles towards traveling, because then this way you can use that to help you pay for your vacation, which is now going to be considered a business trip. And if you go to the credit cards website, they may also have exclusive deals to those who are cardholder members. So check those sites first before you go to sites like Expedia or Travelocity. Some of them actually, the credit card website actually has links to Expedia, Travelocity, etc. And when you click on the link within the credit card website, a lot of times you get, let's say, during certain promotional periods, you may get 2%, 3% off whatever the price that Expedia, Travelocity, Kayak, and all the others are actually charging. If you go to those sites directly and you pay with your credit card, you're not going to get that 2% or 3% discount. So definitely keep that in mind. You can also go to sites like Ebates, where first of all, they list all the different sites. They normally already give you a discount code that it's automatically applied to the site when you use it to buy the vacation that you're interested in. But basically, what I do is I compare every single travel site that there is out there, and then I try to see which is going to give me the better deal. The other thing that I've started to make it a habit to do is go to the New York Times Travel Show. There you will find a whole bunch of vendors, and the vendors offer extra discounts to those who have actually attended the show. And what you have to do is, it's normally a pamphlet, a flyer, or a book. You keep that bag that has all the information that you picked up at the show. You go through it, see what agencies and what companies were there, what the code is, and when you're online on whatever travel website you apply that code and you get an additional discount to whatever discount is already applied. Another show that I like to attend to, and this one is free, it's the New York Tech Expo. They also occasionally will have travel companies there who give codes out to people who have attended the show. And the only way you can get those discount codes is if you attend the show. The other place that I like to go to is Clark Howard. He has a newsletter. He also has a Facebook page that you can go to, and from time to time he will list whenever there's any vacation deal going on. So I like to go to his website to get information. Another area that I visit on Facebook is there are different travel groups out there that sometimes they will have ways in which you can save money when you travel. Next, in addition to all of this, the job that I work at, we have something called LifeMart. And LifeMart also gives us special discount codes that we can apply when we are going to these travel sites, where we can use them to get an additional amount taken off of the price of our whatever trip that we're looking into booking. And I'm also in several MLMs. Legal Shield in particular also provides travel discounts to its members and associates, who are basically paid a referral fee every time somebody decides to join. You get, as a benefit, you get travel discounts. Now, the travel discounts that Legal Shield gives you is mainly for amusement parks within the United States, and also a few hotels and what have you. So that's pretty much how I do it. Now, I understand, though, that there are certain travel agents that come with discounts. Like one travel agency that I did recently use was Vacations to Go. They have discounts for people who are EMT workers, teachers, police officers, firefighters, nurses, UPS workers, and other people in the travel industry. They had some sort of promotion where some of their trips you pay half. So there was a cruise, for example, that I saw that was $99 for 7 days. All of the people in the professions that I just mentioned will not have to pay $99. They're going to pay $49 for the same trip automatically without any discount code at all. and going through anything else that I've just mentioned. So if you are in one of these particular professions, you may want to look to see, besides Vacations to Go, if there are any other companies that offer any special discounts to people within in these particular professions. I know that I have seen other travel agencies that do. I don't know if all of them do. So you may definitely want to look into that. And notice too, I just want to say this because I forgot to mention this earlier. If you find that you are about to make a deal, or you are going to assist somebody in making a deal when it comes to real estate while you are on vacation, don't forget to actually give that person a business card or a flyer, because that in itself turns that vacation into a business trip, and that's how you can go ahead and deduct it from your taxes. Now, I will say this, and of course, going back to discounts, don't forget the senior discount if you are over 65. Moving right along. One thing that did happen to me on this last particular trip is I went ahead and I downloaded the ticket onto my phone. However, after waiting in line for over an hour at the check-in point, they kept trying to scan my phone and it didn't work. So I had to go all the way back upstairs and get a paper ticket. My advice to everybody, to save time so that you don't miss the plane, luckily I did not, is you want to print out the ticket before you actually get into the airport and stand on that line. Because when I came back, luckily they didn't make me stand on the line for coach. They put me in the line for business class. So I was able to get through a little bit quicker, but I still had to stand online again. You don't want to catch yourself in that predicament. And unfortunately, the airport that I left from did not have global entry. So everybody was pretty much on the same line. It was only the business class people who were on a separate line. The next thing, moving right along, another mistake that I made that I wasn't aware of is my flight had stopover. And I didn't realize this at first, so I went ahead and I booked my own hotel. What I didn't realize is that the airline that I had would have paid for a free hotel for me had I only called them on the phone and asked. I didn't read the fine print on the ticket like I was supposed to. I didn't read over everything carefully like I was supposed to when I was first booking it, and I made this costly mistake. It didn't cost me a whole lot of money. It cost me $90, but I'd rather would have stayed in a hotel for free than to have paid an extra $90 to stay in a place. It was okay where I was anyway. Okay, next thing. Next mistake I made is when I got on this cruise ship, I was, excited, because I hadn't been on a cruise in a long time. And I was just, overwhelmed by the beauty and everything, all the activities that it had. What I should have done is I should have went to the information desk. There was a pamphlet there and I didn't pick it up to read it. And I don't recall if they had it in the room. But in that pamphlet were extra discounts that you would get while you were on board, but you had to sign up for it immediately. As soon as you sign up for it, then you would get extra discounts like at the spa services, and also when you were ordering your group tours, you would have gotten an extra discount. And I didn't read that until I guess like the second or third day. That's when I realized it, and I was like, oh no, I went ahead and paid full price for a whole lot of things that I could have gotten at 40% off. So make sure you go to your information desk, pick up whatever material you see there, read it carefully, sign up for whatever cruise club membership, because the cruise club memberships are normally free anyway. And once you sign up for them, you normally get 40 to 70% off whatever services that they offer. Next, with the phone, you want to put your phone in airplane mode while you are cruising. Why? Because the roaming charges might give you a heart attack. Yes, my bill came up to about $600 and I hardly made any phone calls on it. So definitely put your phone in airplane mode, only to have it turned on when you want to, say hello to your family and let them know that you're safe or you're back or what have you. As a matter of fact, you can make the phone call at port, which is actually cheaper than using the phone on the ship. Next, when it comes to your phone, you want to make sure that the phone is set at the same time as the ship time. When you're going to foreign countries, their time may not be the same. Or even in the United States, let's say you're in New York and you're going to California, you have to set that time so that you don't be late for any conferences, any meetings. If you're on ship and you're doing tours, coming back, going to the tour and coming back onto the tour, you don't want to be late and you also don't want to be too early. Next, one of the things that you should also have on your phone if you're going to leave the country is you want to have a currency converter so that you know how much money is being that you're going to be given, because you don't want to be cheated there. Next, if you're going to go to Europe, you want something called the fork. And the fork gives you discounts to various restaurants in various places, various countries in Europe to save you money. Next, you want TripLingo and Google Translate. And that is when you are going to be out on your own and you don't really necessarily feel comfortable with the language, speaking it. You have these two apps that will actually translate word for word what you say against word for word what the other person says in their language, and it helps you to communicate. Lastly, I recommend that you have this app called BeSafe. And what BeSafe does, it's a GPS for where you are. It allows your family to see what street coordinates you are at all times while you are touring or while you are just walking around. This way, they don't necessarily be so worried about you. And also there's an SOS button so that in case you are in danger, it will immediately link to the police station within that particular country, because 911 works in the United States, but it does not work in Italy. It does not work in Portugal. They have a different phone number for the police officers over there. So you want that BeSafe application on your phone for those reasons. Next, this goes back to when choosing a place to travel. Let's say you're going on vacation. It's not for a conference or what have you. I would say don't just pick popular places. Popular places are going to be expensive. Like a lot of people today want to go to Paris, France, but Paris is a lot more expensive than, let's say, going to Croatia. Croatia is, of course, getting up there, but it's still so much cheaper. And the currency, I believe it's 8 kunas to $1. While France, $1 American dollar is like 80 cents in euro. So you're going to get a lot less in France than you do in a country like Croatia. And know that a lot of these countries that are not as popular, don't think that you're going to be bored or that there's nothing to see. They normally do have very interesting things to see. In Croatia, they had a waterfall park where everywhere you turn there was nothing but waterfalls. And as some of you who watch the Game of Thrones, there's a lot of movie scenes with the different churches and the steps and everything that's just as beautiful, if not more so, than Paris. So don't discredit the less popular destinations over those that are more popular. It'll save you a lot of money in the long run. And yes, you will have things to do and a lot of things to see. Next, getting back to accommodations, both with cruises and also with hotels, you can pay for a cheaper room, and then when you actually get there, you can always ask in a kind, low voice if they are willing to give you an upgrade. Sometimes they will say no. Sometimes they will say yes. Sometimes they do it for free. I know that when I went to Vegas, they did it for free. When I was on Carnival many years ago, they did it for free. Now, there were a few places, like when I went to Niagara Falls, they wanted an extra $50. So it really all depends on you. But I would say, depending on who you are and how you are, you don't necessarily have to buy the most expensive room. You can buy low, and then when you get there, ask them if there's no room, if there's extra room. Normally, if it's low season or off shoulder season, there will be room and they will let you have an upgrade. And a lot of times they will let you have the upgrade for free. It's entirely up to you. Now, let's talk about the internet. You may want to take a MiFi with you in certain cases, because a MiFi will allow you to access the internet. Sometimes you may go to places where it's hard to access it. Italy is one place where it's not readily available everywhere. A lot of times you have to go to certain cafes. All cafes don't even have the internet out there in Italy. So you might want to bring your own MiFi in order to get on the internet. Internet is also very slow in a few countries, not just Europe, but also in the Caribbean as well. So you may not be able to stream videos and what have you when you are vacationing there. So you have to keep those sort of things in mind. You have to prepare ahead of time. You may want to download whatever work you have onto your laptop, your iPad, your phone, so that you can work and not depend on using the internet when you get down there. You also want to call ahead of time both your phone and your internet provider and ask them what packages do they provide. Now, I will tell you this, on cruises, particularly when you are not at port, you are going to have a very hard time accessing the internet. The internet will be extremely slow. So really prepare yourself when you are actually going on a cruise. When you are on the train and you're trying to work on the train, it will be difficult to do it. When the train is at the station, the internet is stable. But while the train is in motion going from one station to the next station, your internet is not going to be stable. So download whatever document that you need to work on. Download it locally before you even step on the train, before you even step on the plane, and before you even step on the boat. It's only a few planes actually today that have internet. And even those planes don't always have have it set where you can do streaming music or videos and what have you. Now, know this. The difference between, let's say, taking a trip to Europe or taking a trip to the Caribbean is this. When you go to the Caribbean, you can normally fly the same day and catch a boat or conference or whatever. When going to Europe, you have to fly the day before in order to get there the day of. Why? Because Europe is 5 hours ahead of the United States. And some places it's 6 hours ahead of the United States. So because of this, you have to fly ahead of time. You have to fly the day before in order to catch those conferences, in order to catch those cruises and be on time. Next, let's talk about money. None of the places that I went to in Europe this time took US money at all. When I first went to Europe about 20 years ago, they were happy to take US money. Now that our money is worth less than theirs, they're not all that crazy about doing so. And even in Croatia, where our money was worth more than theirs, many of those restaurants were not interested in taking the US dollar at all. It was either you give them kuna or you give them euro. Don't change your money at the airport, because they're going to charge you a very, very high fee for the money that you need. It's best to change your money before you even get to the airport at some exchange place, or go to an ATM and do it. I will say this, check with your bank to see how much they charge you, because mine charged $6 to change. You also want to call your credit and debit card companies. Call your bank and call your credit card and let them know that you are going to be going away and these are the countries that you're going away. Because I don't know about you, but my particular companies, what they do is if they see that my card is being used in another country and I didn't tell them that I was going away, they immediately shut my card down and say that it's fraud. So I have no choice but to call, and I recommend that everybody else do the same thing as well. You also, as far as exchanging money in the boat or at the hotel, I wouldn't do it there either. I would actually do it at the port or in the main part of town. Go to a bank there, and that's where I would get the money. It's a whole lot cheaper. But no, if you do go in the main part of town to change money, they're going to want to see your passport. So make sure you have that on your person. Make sure you do not leave your passport in your hotel room or in your cruise cabin. You also want to find out which banks are compatible with your bank, because then this way you'll pay lower ATM fees. When it comes to transportation, always go to the ground transportation desk for information to see which way would be the cheapest way from you to get to point A to point B. For those of you who are handicapped, I will let you know this. Although many hotels are not handicap accessible, you may definitely want to ask which ones are and which ones are not. You want to call the hotels directly, but I would say it's better to actually go to one of the Facebook pages for handicap, for travelers, and ask the questions there to verify if the hotel that you're interested in has a handicap accessible room. Some of them say they are, but then when you actually get there, it really isn't. So that is something that you want to definitely look into a little bit further. I will tell you this, Costa Cruises definitely is handicap accessible. Now, let's talk about cruise tours. In the Caribbean, most of the time when you go on a tour, you have to take a taxi there, you have to take a organized tour, or you have to take a bus. A lot of times, though, they don't have the regular bus for that particular city picking you up at the port. But in Europe, I found that most of the highlights of that country was right there at the port. A lot of times there was a free shuttle or a shuttle that only cost $1. So that is the difference between tours that were given in the Caribbean and tours that were given in Europe. If you are going to do organized tours, definitely compare the ship's price to other discount travel sites that are out there, because sometimes some ships come with packages that will save you a lot of money, and then some of them unfortunately don't. So it might be cheaper to go with the discount travel sites. A lot of times it's the same exact tour company, but for whatever reason they give the discount to the travel site as opposed to giving it to the cruise ship. Also, get the phone number of the tour guides, because in case you get separated, you want to give them a phone call and say, I'm lost. Because if you are not on that bus when they say for you to get on the bus, they might wait 15 minutes, they might not, but after that 15 minutes, they're leaving you. So definitely get the phone number of the tour guide. Now, let's talk about spa services. When it comes to spa services, always wait for when there is a special. Don't just book them right away. And know this, if there are several people in your party, or let's say you went alone, but you met several people on the boat, if you guys go together, go to the desk together and say, hey, we're together, can we get a discount? 9 times out of 10, they'll knock a few dollars off, like $5 to $10 off of the price of the service, even when there is a special for that particular day. Oh, yes. The next thing I wanted to mention is the bathroom situation. Comparing the public bathrooms when you're on tours in the Caribbean with Europe. A lot of times in the Caribbean, the bathrooms are few and far between, but when you find them, they're normally free. In Europe, they're not. There's a few free ones. The ones that are free are normally extremely nasty. The other ones are going to cost you money. So yes, when you go to Europe, you should definitely have cash on hand, because you never know when you need or want to go, and you might have to go real bad, and the closest toilet is one that only accepts change, and they accept exact change. And that's a problem that I ran into. So there is no, okay, I have more than what it says, can you give me change? No, you have to actually put it into a turnstile, sort of like when you go in those old buses that we used to have in the 70s, or like the train stations that we have now. You actually drop the change in this turnstile, and then once you drop it in, it lets you go, it lets you turn. If you don't have exact change and you put in more, it's not going to turn. It's definitely not going to turn if you put in less. Of course, some people try to hop it, but that doesn't always work. There are times when there is an attendant there to assist. That attendant does not always speak English, number one. But it's good when they have it, but there are times when there is no attendant there at all. And then lastly, let's talk about tips. Now, I'm a person that normally leaves a tip. However, in Europe, I find that they didn't ask for it, and a lot of times when the tours and everything was over, people just left and didn't give them any. And they didn't exactly stick around waiting for people to give them a tip. So I thought that that was somewhat different. Another thing that I notice is that when it comes to cruises, they've actually changed how tipping works. Before, they used to give you an envelope and you used to put money into that envelope to tip the different people. Nowadays, what they do is they take the money out of your card. They give you a card. Really, they're taking it out of your credit card. But that's basically how they tip. And it's normally a certain percentage per day. It's really not a whole lot, maybe like $1 or $2 per day. Now, if you want to tip someone extra because that waiter, that waitress, the housekeeper did something special for you, and you want to show extra appreciation to that particular person, what you do is you can, if you have your own envelope, you can put your money in that envelope, hand it to that person, but try not to do it in front of their other coworkers because that can create a little bit of animosity. So that is basically how you would handle that. So that's it for my tips, guys. That's all I have for you tonight. Hopefully the information will inspire you to travel, make deals while you travel, and turn your vacations into business trips. See you next time, my friends. Bye.